Okay, we're just going to do a March and April reading wrap up because in total my reading was trash. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is going to be a wrap up of both March and April. I am not reading a hell of a lot this year. It has been one of the slower years for me personally, and we're just sort of going with the flow. That being said, I am doing quite large beta reads, and I've done a lot of beta and alpha reading this year, which is taking up a fair bit of my time. So before I jump into my actual reads for those 2 months, I'll just have a brief chat about a couple of things. So beta reads, I did a 950-page beta read in the month of March, and I was also traveling in that month. And then in the month of April, I did a 700-odd page beta read and then another novella towards the end of the month there, so that took up a fair bit of time. In terms of my own writing, just as a quick update, I didn't I've really slowed down. So in January, I wrote 17,000 words and I wrote every single day, and then life happened. So I have been I have been managing to write in little pockets, but it's happening when and where I can fit it in and when it feels right to do so. I'm not going to force it. If I do, that means you're going to get a crap book. Whatever comes next, because I have sort of lent into a project that is not the Alpha Cycle Book 2, because that's where my brain space is and that's where I'm going to direct the energy while it's happening. Not saying that Alpha Book 2 isn't going ahead. I just had to change some things around for plot points and do a little bit more planning around it. So the planning has been done up to 50% of the book. Now I learnt during book 1 I'm a pantser, so I need to have like rough outlines and like continuity things because it is a book 2, but I'm trying to allow a little bit of freedom there still. I digress. I wrote 9,257 words in the month of April, and I have no idea what I wrote in March, and that is towards a secondary project, which I'll talk more about in vlogs. Outside of that, total, I read 8 things between March and April, and we're just going to do a really quick wrap up on those today. So the first one that I read was a buddy read with Roger over at Roger's Reads, and this was A Natural History of Dragons by Maureen Brennan. That the ring light is quite bright today, so this is going to be glary. I really loved this. This is like the origin story of Lady Trent, and she's not yet Lady Trent in this particular book. A young woman who is just enamored with the magical sort of environment that she's in, doesn't like to do the things that have been told or expected of her as a young lady, and just wants to go on adventures and really pursue this passion that she has. And she finds people in her life that allow her to explore that, and we just like get to go on these wonderful adventures, particularly with a partner that the main character has in here, which is just not only enabling but encouraging her to do the things that she's passionate about, and that was really beautiful. This is so whimsical and utterly charming, and I was enamored with it from start to finish. And then it had like a real gut punch of an ending, which I was not expecting, and I don't think Roger was either. We had a very brief Instagram chat about it, being like, how dare Marie Brennan do that to us? So I'm looking forward to continuing on with the series. I had a really good time with this one, and I can't wait to pick up the Tropic of Serpents, which will be happening in the month of May, hopefully. We'll be very early in the month to pick that one up. So I had a good time with that one. Next, I did a buddy read. So this was our quarter 1 buddy read for Bard and Butter, and this was Babel by R.F. Kuang. I had really mixed feelings about this, and I'll have our discussion link down below if you want to hear more rambly thoughts. There were parts of this story that I really liked and I really appreciated. There were also just like mad plot holes, and I didn't give a shit about any of the characters. So it was like, I think I ended on a 3 because the parts that I liked, like the exploration of language and like the setting, felt very academic, and like the ideas behind the plot I quite enjoyed. The execution, I think, fell really short for me. But I thought the premise was super, like, clever and entertaining, and I had an okay time with it, but I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I am trying to keep things on my shelves that I would reread at some point. Like, once I finally get through them, I would have to stop buying books, of course, for that to happen. But this is something that I would revisit, and I'm not really sure why. I don't I don't hate it as much as other people did, and I do think it has some reread qualities in there. But anyway, bit of a ramble. I cared not for the characters, but I still had a decent time with it, and very readable uh, when I picked it up. So I don't know, middle of the road on that one, or slightly higher than middle of the road, because the parts I did enjoy, I really enjoyed, and then like the plot holes though, they're just like gaping wounds in this book. But yeah, it was fun. Then I picked up a NetGalley e-arc called Sourwood. This is by Logan Spurgeon, and this it was like a twist on a haunted house tale. Like there was some genetic, like anyway, story of a I can't even remember their names. Story of a young man and woman who go to their grandparents' house because the grandparents are going to say give them their inheritance early. They're a sibling dynamic. The older brother really needs money, so he's gone to this house because he's been supporting his younger sister since the death of their parents. He goes, I need the inheritance, so let's see what we have to go and do. Let's meet the grandparents that we're estranged from. And then they get to the house and creepy shit starts happening. It was an interesting take on like vampires, not necessarily a haunted house. I personally tend to bounce off haunted houses. The house and the atmosphere of the property was creepy, but it wasn't necessarily the house that was haunted. It was very much around this older couple, and one of them you don't really see throughout the whole time, and just things felt off. So I think in terms of like atmosphere, and this was super short as well, it was well under 300 pages, it may even be under 200 pages. So if you like a creepy atmosphere and a very quick surface level read, you may enjoy this one. I thought it was fine, but I thought for the setup that we had and the atmosphere that was built up, a lot of the action just felt really rushed. So the pacing wasn't there for me. Again, I also didn't really care about the characters in this one either, but gorgeous cover, and it was just fine. Then I picked up Rain and Ruin by J.D. Evans, and this has been on my to be read for so long at this point. I won a Spiffbo many years ago, and since then I've been like, well, I don't really read romance, and I don't really read romantasy, but I've heard this does a really good balance of romance and fantasy, and I will give it that. And it was relatively enjoyable. I think I gave this one a 4 stars. It's not necessarily something that I would gravitate towards. We are following Naima and Markham as like political houses. Both have very clear ideas of what they want in each of those political houses, and they sort of need to come and work together. Very clear from the get-go that they have an attraction to each other and that it's an alliance that shouldn't be, but they kind of can't help but sort of fall towards each other. Now, I'm really like it's very vague. I don't remember a whole lot of it, but I do remember coming out of it that I would consider listening to book 2. I did this one on audio. The audio was great. Like, it was really good performances. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. But I can see objectively why people enjoy this series. I think the writing is good. It's captivating. If you like romance in your fantasy and you want a good mix of that, this does it perfectly. I don't think I've read any other book, and I wouldn't call it romantasy at all. I would call it epic fantasy and romance. Like, it is very much 50-50, in my opinion. Anyway, so, I don't know, it was okay. I have book 2 on Audible, so I may go back to it if I am looking for something to read and it is there. I don't know whether I'll finish the series. I'm undecided. I'm very middle of the road there, but objectively, it was a good book. And then I picked up one that I was umming and ahhing about for a while. I picked up Dreams of the Dying by Nicholas Lietzow. This is while I was traveling. I've got this on ebook, and I was like, you know what? Cure for the Living is coming out in 2026, so I definitely need a refresher. It's been like 5 years. I read this when it came out, which was a good 5 years ago now. So I read it. I blitzed this in 3 days. It was fantastic. It was probably my read of March. I finished it, I think, on the 1st of April, technically, but we're just going to include it in March. Yeah, this is the story of Jesper and an archipelago full of weird shit happening in dreams, and it was awesome. I love the world. I fell straight into it. This was a book that I've never read. I think this is like 800 pages. I don't think I've read a 700-page book in 3 days. except for the first time I read this book and the second time I read this book, which, I'm looking forward to reading it again in the future, hopefully after I finish the series, now that I have the two of those on my shelf. You can see them, you just can't see the covers. They're the ones that I haven't put away up there yet. So, really good time with this one. I love Nicholas Lietzo's world building. I think the archipelago is such a fun setting to have this, like, epic dark fantasy take place, and the discussions around mental health as well. And it also, like, if someone asks me who my favorite bisexual male character is in any book, it's Jesper. There's, like, no ifs or buts about it, and he doesn't feel the need to, like, tell people. It's sort of private to him, holds it close to his heart, but also doesn't hide it, which resonates with me as well, even though the whole internet knows what my sexuality is. My first book for April, so I only read 3 things in the month of April, was an anthology that I've been a part of, which I'm not a contributing author at all. I've just sort of been behind the scenes. This is Together is a Distant Star by varying authors. And this has been a really rewarding project to be a part of. And it's a collection of 12 short stories all about the theme of belonging. The artist, Co Lansdale, or CB Lansdale, is just fantastic. Like, this is so beautiful. And I know it's glossy, so you can't really, it's not going to do it justice. But the colours on this thing really pop. This one comes out on May the 19th. I'll have a pre-order link down below if you want to go and check it out. But I had a fantastic time with it. I've been blessed to speak to some of these authors, and I'm hoping to do a launch party here on May 19th when it goes live with a few of them. Then I picked up my NetGalley pick for the month of, what did we just come out of? April, which was The Demon Star by Jesse Aragon, and this was fun. This was thematically so heavy, and it's very, very dark. Like, the subject matter is dark. We are dealing with the concept of faith and demons versus gods, and how faith can be weaponized, and the cycles that people go through when they are both having that concept be used against them as a weapon, but then also maybe having to do the same things to utilize is the wrong word, to have control over a population, and sort of getting that understanding of why things have been done the way that they've been done. This is following a deeply flawed set of characters in a very gritty world. So we are following Jason, who is a sort of like a priest, who is a telepath, who is part of the Order, and then we're following Ysera, who has been sacrificed for the harvest but survived. She has got a demon inside of her who basically heals her whenever she gets hurt, and she's been able to survive that way. We're following Neri, who is a young boy who is about to be sacrificed to the desert to try and take in the most powerful demon. So people, if they have a demon inside of them, it sort of goes in their ear and, like, sits in their brain and manipulates what their body can do. And the hope, by sending this weak telepath Neri into the desert, who's only, I think, 11 or 12, preteen, adolescent, if not early teens, is to try and have him take on the most powerful demon of them all to then go against the gods. There were some really fun sci-fantasy aspects in this as well. So there's, like, planet-side, like, off-world gods who are using the harvest, kind of like if you've read Legacy of the Brightwash by Kamatar, how the tainted children are used in that series. It kind of gives that vibe where these harvested people are being used to do horrific things. Like, it's not fun to go and be harvested, yet the gods are demanding a harvest every quarter. So I understand why they want to stop it, but just those conversations of how do we stop it, and now how are we in this trap at the same time, which was really fun. Hopefully I haven't given away spoilers there. And the last one I technically finished in May, but I'm going to count it here. That is The Paths of Alir by Melissa McPhail, and this is book 3 of the Legacy? Book 3 of the Patterns of Shadow and Light. I finally remembered what order they go in. I can't give too much away here. It's a book 3, but this one was definitely my favorite of the lot so far. We had a deepening of the game where we have the light and shadow about to... It feels like we're on the precipice of these, like, groups and factions warring with each other. And we got a much deeper look of where the main players of this game, their paths sort of have come from and where they are now. So there's three brothers who seem to be reborn every generation. They keep finding ways back to each other, and it was just fascinating. My favorite character in here, Tanis, was a majority of the book, and we find out his parentage. Fantastic. Had a great time. Looking forward to book 4. I'll probably do that when I get back from the UK. So, that is everything that I read in the months of March and April. What were your favourite books from those months? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this content, give one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will, and I will catch you in the next video. Ciao.